In order to get really lean, sorry, the answer is not lots of cardio. Today we'll talk about how to maximize your fat loss results with the use of cardio and how to minimize all the downfalls and pitfalls that come with it. The most effective form of cardio is that burns the most number of calories without putting mileage on your body, without beating up your joints. And by the most amount of calories, I simply mean the net number of calories. So that means how many calories you have burnt doing the workout, how many calories you'll burn following the workout in that nice little window where we have that afterburn effect, and how many calories you haven't eaten due to not getting immense sensations of hunger following your cardio session. Because fat burning cardio often provokes quite a bit of hunger. So any of those calories that you can save by not eating them because you haven't got that extreme hunger, plus that you've burnt, equals your net calories that contribute toward your goals. Joint health is so important when it comes to cardio. Quite often all the jumping around, the persistent stepping, all of that impact that a lot of cardio activities come with, all has a toll on the body. So try and ditch any particular cardio that will have that impact, put that mileage on your body, because those joints need to be saved for something that is far more worthwhile, and that is resistance training and the effort that you put into that. If cardio is going to interfere with that, then ditch it. You see, it's really important to realize is that when you have that mileage on your body and your joints are beat up, it's not just something that you just throw away, put to the side of, oh well. This is where fatigue really starts to build and it snowballs over time, and the persistent fatigue really wears you down. And not only do you then stop doing cardio, you then also stop doing resistance training or decrease it, or the stimulus that you provoke for change just whittles down and doesn't really become very effective at all. And then, because of all of that happening, you might actually feel like you want to eat a little bit more just to get rid of those blues that you're feeling as a result of your joints not playing ball with you. And so just starting with an exercise that plays havoc with your joints starts a whole process that might leave you feeling a little bit down on yourself and might provoke habits that reverse all of the good intentions that you've had, or perhaps all the good work that you've done. And when you have all this fatigue, you just generally start to feel lethargic, and then cortisol swamps your body. That's a hormone that prevents fat burning. So all of these efforts to try and get shredded and your fat burning efforts are just whittled away. And it all starts with an inappropriate form of cardio. And the time frame as well for cardio to be effective can't just be indefinite, and it can't just be ad hoc. Make it part of your plan. The same way that you choose your resistance training and then you set about to do it for a certain number of weeks before you give your body a rest, cardio is no different. Include it for a set number of time, for a set number of weeks. Keep to it, go through with it, providing everything is fine, you don't have this immense amount of fatigue, and then stop. Make it part of your plan and have a rigid structure and keep to it. And the time frame that you do cardio for is also very important. If you do long duration cardio, a bit exhausting on the muscles, it's a bit of fatigue that you're opening the door and letting that in. If you do HIIT cardio training, it's much more intense. It's for a shorter period of time, gives you that mental relief of not having to be on the cardio machine for hours on end. And it somewhat replicates resistance training, how it is intense in nature. So that might be a form of cardio to really consider building into your workout once you've got the appropriate form of cardio that doesn't beat up on your joints. Make sure you're doing cardio you enjoy as well, or maybe a cardio that you hate the least if you're that way inclined, like me, because it's a bit of a mental stress doing cardio. You've got to go to the gym, to get it done. You've got to travel there, you've got to plan it into your day, your meals have got to be considered around that. If you have family commitments, you've got to slot those in too. For what? For a bit of cardio? Hardly seems worthwhile sometimes. But if you are building it into your program and you are committing to it, then make sure it's one that you're going to like. Otherwise, all the stress apparently for no reason, or it might seem like for no reason, will just get right on top of you, and you just won't enjoy something that you didn't enjoy in the first place potentially. So you've really got to consider how it all slots into your lifestyle, if it's worthwhile, and do you really enjoy it? And when you don't enjoy something, it's actually harder to get the outcome. And when it's really hard to get the outcome, you push harder to get the outcome. And in those situations where you're just grinding away each and every time because you just don't enjoy it, that is such an accumulation of stress that will be another thing for you to deal with. And I bet it will result in exhaustion. You'll be on the couch some evening and you'll be like, man, I just feel so tired. And it's probably because of the cardio that you don't want to do. I think this is a good time to just go through the awkward stuff of please like, subscribe, drop a comment if you feel inclined to do so. If you enjoy this content, then it really helps the channel to grow. Apparently, there's an algorithm and it talks nicely to the algorithm, just like I'm trying to talk nicely to you. So, my name is Simon from the Deep South Experiment, and on this podcast, we talk about fat loss, muscle building, and mindset. Everything around those areas of extreme interest to me, and hopefully is extreme interest to you, and that's why you're watching this podcast. More about me and the channel is in the description below if you'd like to check that out. But now let's get back to the interesting stuff, shall we? We're going back to the I don't want to do cardio, or it's a stress to do it. Maybe you just don't like it. And in that case, I would advise that you just don't do it, because you might be surprised is that it's not a necessity to do cardio. It's just a nice little convenience that might help you a little bit in your journey to get there a little bit faster, but it ain't gonna make night and day difference. That's for sure. So if you are going to do cardio, make sure you love it, because that'll make the whole process that much more straightforward and help your net calorie gain to be much higher than what it would normally be otherwise, if it was a constant stress and a drag, and just if it wasn't a pleasant experience for you. Plus, when you do something that you enjoy doing, you tend not to walk along the lines of injury. And if you do happen to injure your leg and you pull your groin, for example, and then you start walking a bit differently, then all of that snowballs, and you compensate with different parts of your body because your groin is as it is. And then you develop a new habit of walking. And then that has a knock-on effect on a different part of your body. And before you know it, over the months or years, you're walking in an entirely different way that's not nice for your body. It doesn't help you be productive, you're not energy efficient, etc. And most importantly, it causes more problems. Your knee starts to hurt, your lower back starts to hurt, you've got a twinge in your shoulder here, all because a certain part of your body was tweaked at the get-go and you just simply worked through it. So if you're going to do cardio, make sure you love it, make sure you do it right, and be kind to your body. Make sure you don't get that extreme fatigue that you have to push through and just simply do. Because the body is very resilient, and when you can't really do something or shouldn't be doing it, you just do it anyway, and it's not really that much of a chore, and you just think, oh, that was a bit hard. But really, how much damage are you doing at the end of the day if you are following a line of motion that you shouldn't? It's much easier to control each and every second of a weight movement. You're really in control if your technique is right and you've got that skill level to allow such a thing to occur. But with cardio, everything's so rapid, so fluid, that you can't control every bit of the motion, and it becomes so second nature that you don't even realize that you're doing it wrong. And then sometimes you just can't be bothered if you're doing it wrong. You just want to just get through it. So there's a lot of areas here that you can have a lot of things go wrong and you're not necessarily always aware of it. And cardio doesn't always have to be on the treadmill, on the rower or whatever. You've got boxing at home that you could do, get a punch bag for example, something that gets your heart rate elevated and doesn't involve moving through a resistance. Just a punch bag for example, a great form of cardio. And you can do it for a short burst at a time, get a bit of a sweat on and then move on. One of the main points actually, and I'll save this for last, well I might think of something in a few minutes time, but for now, this is the last big point, is that cardio should complement a caloric deficit or a calorie deficit. I'm not sure which word to use there. I'll go with calorie for now. So make sure that your diet has that deficit in place and that can be what carries you through to your goals. And then cardio comes along and just tops it up nicely. It's the cherry on top. It's the cream on whatever you put cream on. It's not the calorie deficit. So we don't want to crank up the cardio so that we think we are burning hundreds of calories and that is how we're going to get shredded. Instead, we want to try and get shredded through the nutritional approach, and then cardio is a nice wee top up just to feel good and maybe get those extra few calories in, which can make a difference in time. The whole subject of calories and nutrition and cardio fascinates me because it's like walking a tightrope. You've got this line whereby you want to keep to, and a deficit could take you lower than it, which gives consequences. That's like yo-yo dieting. Or you could go just a little bit over the tightrope, in which case you won't really achieve your goals because you're consuming too many calories. But then if you just go a little bit below the line, you probably get some good results. But then where does cardio fit into that? If you do too much cardio, then you've got the aspect of a lot of afterburn and calories burnt itself, which if you combine that with an already exaggerated nutritional calorie deficit, then again, it's going too far. And if you go too far and you combine cardio, then you've got this immense hunger that you're going to get. So you're going to go way over that line that you want to be at for a good amount to get shredded. So there's this constant tightrope that we're walking on, where we've got our daily activities, our nutrition, our exercise, and the after effect of exercise, all to consider here as to where are all these things putting our calorie consumption. What's more, with nutritional intake, we can control calories there or thereabouts quite accurately. Whereas when it comes to cardio and our movements throughout the day, we can't track how many calories we're burning, so that's all got to be an estimation. So resistance training is to stimulate the muscles to grow. That's the main point. But cardio is pretty much exclusively burning fat to get shredded, aside from the benefits of the respiratory system and so forth. So it's a little hard to actually put a number on calories burnt. So therefore, it shouldn't really be your main focus. It should just be a top up of what you're doing. Like I said, the cherry on top or the cream on whatever you're putting cream on. I should really have something to fill that space there, but I don't. You get the point. And cardio can also adjust your behavior. This follows on from the exhaustion part and the number of calories that I've just talked about that you're eating. But you might find that you're really tired after doing your cardio, or after including cardio in your routine that perhaps you once didn't do because you have it in your mind that by doing so is going to help you get shredded. Therefore, you've got to do it. But the result of that is you might just be sat on the couch just feeling overexhausted, or exhausted far more than what you're used to. So therefore, you put that down to calories that you burnt, or the cardio session itself. So you sit there going, oh, it's okay, I know I'm feeling like this. I'm feeling tired because of X, Y, and Z to do with cardio and so forth. But then your behaviors start to change. You might ask someone to flick the light switch on rather than getting up and doing it yourself. And just little things like that. Many, many hundreds of little things throughout the day or the week all accumulate to you doing less activity. And you don't always realize what you're doing. You probably don't think to ask someone to put a light switch on and then go, oh, I just asked someone to do that rather than do it myself. You probably don't give it a second thought. You're probably just like, oh, do you mind doing that? Yeah, great, thanks. And then you move on and don't give it a second thought. But the behaviours do change. And so when the behaviours change, you can quite easily debate that you're simply switching one for another. So you're no longer doing your daily ups and downs and lefts and rights and fidgeting and all that sort of stuff. Lifting things up and down and, all the things that you do that costs calories throughout the day that you don't necessarily think about. All of that stuff might stop, and now you find yourself doing cardio that you just don't want to do instead. You probably will never do both. So why don't you just continue fidgeting and leave cardio alone rather than doing cardio and then finding your behaviours changing. It's just one of these weighing up X, but just something to be aware of there throughout your daily life and what your behaviours are. So just in closing, tread carefully with cardio. You might have it in your mind to do a 12-minute fat burning session. Do it in the morning, do it at night, whatever, or incorporate HIIT within your routine. Whatever it might be, just be aware of how to use cardio, the fatigue that it puts on your body, how it interferes with your muscles, how it might change your behavior in the house or just in life in general, and what is it actually going to be worth? A top up of your calories that you generally tend to involve or control through nutritional intake, or does it serve a different purpose? If you love doing cardio, great, get to grips with all these things and nail it and enjoy it and good on you. But if you don't worry about it. All right, on that note, catch you later.